Take yourself back to the year 1944, where this story all begins. Imagine being a 14-year-old child, the smallest in the room, gripping a Bible like it's the only thing keeping you alive and sane as the world tells you you won't live to see another sunrise. That, ladies and gentlemen, was the harsh reality of George Stinney Jr., a boy who got charged for first-degree murder and the youngest person in American history to be executed in the 20th century. A boy so small, the guards had to stack a Bible on the electric chair just so his head could reach the straps. And through it all, his parents had to flee the country while actively pleading for his innocence, insisting that their son could never commit such a crime. They couldn't afford a lawyer, and they begged for mercy. After his execution, they never stopped believing in his innocence, but they were ignored by the legal system and the general public. In the end, they were left powerless, forced to watch their own son's life be taken in a tragedy they could neither prevent nor undo. His trial? 10 minutes. Imagine deciding someone's entire life in just the span of 10 minutes. In 2014, 70 long years after his death, a court finally cleared his name. But the truth arrived at an empty grave. It was justice delivered to someone who could no longer hear it. And that reveals something painful. Justice isn't always about what's right. Sometimes it's simply what powerful people decide is right. And that's the question we don't ask enough. If justice can execute a child because of prejudice, if truth can be ignored because of power, if fairness can be silent when it should scream, then maybe the problem isn't justice itself. Maybe the problem is the way we define it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Raunak Ramesh, and today I want to explore a question that sounds simple, but shapes every family, society, and every one of us. Who decides what's right and what's fair? When I was younger, I believed justice worked like a simple formula. Follow the rules, and life treats you fairly. Break the rules, and face the consequences. It felt predictable and safe, but that belief crumbled to the floor the day I watched two students in my school bunking their science class on a random Tuesday. Same action, same situation. Yet, one walked away with a simple warning, whereas the other walked away with a 3-day suspension. I remember standing there, unable to make sense of it, how the same behavior and the same action could lead to two totally different outcomes. That moment taught me something important. Justice isn't about deciding what happened, but who gets to decide what happens next. Most of us assume that fairness comes from those in power, like judges, governments, and leaders. They make the laws and enforce the rules, yes, but if justice only depended on them, history will look very different. Laws once barred women from voting, allowed segregation, and let children work in factories. Every injustice we read about today was at the time completely legal. This just proves that justice hasn't always lived inside rule books, but has lived inside the people that interpret them. Allow me to share a story about a judge known for ruling with compassion. One day, a boy stood before him for stealing bread. The judge said, "I don't want to know the crime you committed. I want to know the story behind it." The courtroom expected a classic punishment, but the judge asked a very simple question. "Why did you steal?" The boy hesitated and then whispered, "My mother hasn't eaten in 3 days." All eyes and ears were still. From that moment, the judge didn't see a criminal. The judge saw a small, innocent boy trying to save his struggling mother. Imagine a world where we ask why before we decide how to punish. That world should have been ours. But here's the truth. we often overlook. The people who shape justice aren't always the ones in official positions. Justice can be the teacher that chooses to listen instead of the judge. It can be the friend that stands up for you when you're not around. It can be the quiet kid that steps in when someone else is being bullied. It can be the sibling that says this isn't fair when everyone else stays silent. Justice happens in the small, invisible moments we often ignore. Fairness doesn't start in courtrooms. Fairness starts in everyday decisions, in our classrooms, our homes, and in our friendships. So why is fairness so difficult? Because fairness requires courage. It's easier to stay silent than speak up. It's easier to follow the crowd than question it. It's easier to say, this isn't my business, rather than getting into something uncomfortable. And almost all of us in this auditorium have witnessed an unfair moment. A classmate that was blamed for something they didn't do. A sibling punished more harshly. A friend treated differently. And something inside of us whispered, this isn't right. But we didn't say anything. Not because we didn't care, because silence felt safer. Justice isn't difficult because we don't know right from wrong. Justice is difficult because doing what's right can cost us something. Our comfort, our approval, and maybe our reputation. And that's why so many unfair things continue to happen in today's world. Not because bad people say too much, because good people say too little. So who decides what's right and what's fair? It's not just leaders or laws or people with authority. It's us. Think about it. Every day, in every small interaction, in every small choice you make with no one watching, the world's definition of fairness isn't built by the government. It's built by people. People who choose kindness over convenience, empathy over ego, and courage over silence. So as I close, I want you to remember this. Justice isn't about deciding who deserves a punishment. Justice is about deciding who deserves an understanding. Fairness isn't a system. Fairness is a responsibility. And in a world full of noise, judgment, and instant reactions, choosing fairness is almost revolutionary. Lastly, justice belongs to you. And in every fair choice you make from now onwards will get us one step closer to the world we all deserve. I would like to end with a quote from Martin Luther King. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Thank you so much.